everyone. This is Tiffany Schlane. I'm from San Francisco here, and we're at the headquarters of 50/50 Day. We have been loving seeing all the screenings. There's over 11,000 screening and discussion events in all 50 states and in 65 countries. Thank you for sending in so many great photos and videos. It's been very inspiring. And we've had a day chock full of amazing women and men, and just talking all about getting to 50/50 and where are we on that arc of history and what is it going to take to get there. So I'm really looking forward to Farai is going to interview Paolo Mendoza from the Women's March on Washington, and she's up next, and I'm really looking forward to hearing where you think things are and where you think we need to go. So here's Farai, and take it away.
Thanks, Tiffany. Hi, Paola. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. You are wrapping up our live streaming today for 50/50 Day, and it's been just tremendous. And you, of course, have been the artistic director for the March on Washington, the Women's March, and also a filmmaker, a writer. Entre Nos, your film, The Ones Who Don't Stay, your book. And I just want to say that this day to me is about creativity as well as politics and gender. I mean, there's so much creativity among the women and men we've spoken with who are really trying to champion a more equitable world. So what role does creativity play for you in kind of movement building?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to you all on such a big day and a big accomplishment. And thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to be here. Art and culture is absolutely essential to what I'm doing as a very new activist. Previous to the election, I was an artist, and an artist that my work was all socially relevant and specifically dealt with immigration. But after the election, I started organizing a march for the first time in my life. And I didn't know at the time, but being a filmmaker was actually that skill set from being a filmmaker into organizing a march just transferred absolutely perfectly. And when I started working at the Women's March, volunteering at the Women's March, I realized that one of our biggest gaps, we had a tremendous amount of activism and organizers, but what we were lacking was this idea of the story we were trying to tell. And previous to that, my work as a filmmaker was essential in trying to shift the narrative around how we in this country viewed immigrants. And so I took that skill set into the Women's March and talked about, what was the story we were trying to tell? Well, what was the thing that we were trying to engage the country and the world in? What was the messaging behind it all? And then artists became a crucial point for the Women's March. We had over 150 artists that engaged in the Women's March, and we had over 90 of them attend the actual march itself. And Mr. Harry Belafonte was our mentor, and obviously his role in the civil rights movement as an artist was essential. So all of that is to say movement building and culture work and artistship and artistry is all intertwined, particularly in this moment in history.
And so many people plugged into the march. How has that energy and that momentum and the movement continued?
So it's continued in a variety of ways. It's continued in very organic ways. We saw a few days after the march, Donald Trump implemented the Muslim ban, and we saw that people activated around the country and went and protested at the airport. I believe that is a direct result to what had happened 3 days before that at the Women's March. People were inspired and they really understood this idea and this concept of what it meant to be intersectional, that I myself didn't have to be Muslim to be against the ban and thus go and put my body and my brain and my physical self at the front lines to say, no, this is not going to happen, not just to me, but to my neighbors and to my friends and to strangers. So that is a way in which it's manifested. We've also seen that same energy around town halls for the Affordable Health Care Act. We partnered at the previous recess, congressional recess, we partnered with the United States of Women and MoveOn.org to get over 100,000 people to town halls across the country. So that energy has been happening, but I do think it's really important to say that the Women's March did not begin the movement, did not begin a movement. We might have been the spark of the resistance as we know it today, but really, if we're looking at recent history, we have to pay homage and realize that Black Lives Matter really was the ones that trained us, trained the people to go out to the streets and go out to the streets to protest and get their bodies on the lines for something that they cared about. So the Women's March is a direct result to Black Lives Matter. And I don't think that concept and that education is talked enough about.
And so just finally, where do you think we'll be in 10 years, plus or minus? A lot of people have been reflecting on, you know, the year 2025 and whether setting goals is even something we should do or whether we should just simply keep pressing forward. So you know, where do you think we might be headed in terms of gender in about 10 years?
Well, clearly my son in 10 years is going to be a teenager.
Yeah.
So
we love kids.
We love them.
You didn't facepalm him like that.
Exactly. I needed to like go out and do that. Exactly. So my son is a teenager. You know, I really hope that this country is able to talk to one another. You know, what we aren't able to do today is we're not able to engage in people that think differently than us because we are so divided and there's so much history that hasn't been dealt with. And so I think it's extremely important that in 10 years from now, that we're able to sit down across the aisle. I hope to be able to sit down across the aisle with a Republican and say, we differ, but yet really our country is what we care about and our neighbors are what we care about. And I believe that you, for the majority of Republicans that are out there, believe in love and equity and transparency and that citizens themselves, documented and undocumented, deserve to be happy and deserve to eat and deserve to be there with their families. We might have different ways of getting there, but let's be able to break bread. And I hope that our country has learned from our mistake of electing Donald Trump, who very clearly, particularly as of yesterday, has taken steps towards that dictatorship. And I don't say that word lightly. I'm from Latin America. Dictatorships are in my blood. And this is where we are. We are facing the destruction of our democracy. And so what are we as women going to do that? And what are we as citizens going to do that? And I think very specifically, I hope in 10 years from now that we've had a woman president.
Yes, I think that I and a lot of other people co-sign on that. So
exactly.
Paolo Mendoza from the March on Washington, the Women's March. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.